Alright, just doing a little mic test, mic test. Let's see how this sounds, and hopefully it sounds okay. All right. I believe this means we are live. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, tech fans of all shapes and sorts and sizes and persuasions. Welcome to another episode of the Monday Morning Tech Chat Show on the SGGQA podcast channel. I'm Juan Carlos Bagnell, aka Some Gadget Guy. If I hadn't taken that pause, I might have been able to get a little further through my morning powder. The SGG of this terribly named podcast series, but the QA is the important part. We like to chat out our news, get our week started off fresh. That question and answer, and I'm already seeing some great faces, some great names in the live chat right here. Ron, GKP, Jimmy Fire Dragon, Simon says Hypno, John Gow, Georgie, David Lockwood saying hey one and everyone. Vazikos, Mr. Saeed Ted. We got a good crew all ready to go. We're getting into. Oh, I need to mute this laptop. I'm trying to split up. I'm going like multi-computer for a few things. You know, where I've been having these issues with like the stream and the audio and things like that. I've been trying to like just move parts of the chain around or just see like, hey, if I change one thing, maybe there's a problem over here. Or maybe I just have way too many browser tabs open. And even though I've got 64 gig of RAM in this workstation, maybe that's what's grinding everything to a halt. And I just have to keep pointing to, for audio issues, for stream issues, for the choppiness of the stream, every single time I pull up Restream, it seems to like slow everything down on my system. So especially like 2 or 3 weeks ago, where it was just practically a slideshow of an episode, that does seem to be a consistent factor. So I've moved a whole bunch of stuff over to a laptop, just so I can do social media and stuff like that. And I really need to just start figuring out some transition or other solution for co-streaming, because it's really difficult to send a stream out to multiple points and then not, you know, totally tank your broadband connection when you live in the United States and we have cable broadband with miserably slow upload speeds. Let me tell you how much fun it is to upload 4K video to the internet on cable. Hooray! Because of the FCC. It's great. So Barry's jumping in. Hey Juan, Jimmy, Ron, and the chatters. We got Consumer Compute saying hello. Hello, Consumer Compute. And I hope everybody out there had a lovely weekend. My daughter had a ballet recital, and it was totes adorbs. It is really cute to see just the kids grow and learn and perform, and it was really really sweet. We tried to take a lot of stuff quiet, but my wife also had like a Christmas party through her office, and it's just crazy because we're getting through the end of the year and we're trying to wrap up, you know, all these things. There's so much pressure on the gift giving and the holiday events and spending time with family and still getting all our work done. And I hope everybody out there is doing okay. I hope as we're going through this and we're putting this kind of artificial end of the year pressure on ourselves to perform and produce and show up and be merry, that you're taking care of yourselves. Because let me tell you, it's been a lot. Just kind of keeping everything moving, keeping all those balls up in the air. Woohoo! So, we've got a pretty news heavy slate of stories this week. Um, there is some gadget block stuff that I can kind of show off, but I definitely have to kind of keep a few things in reserve just as we sort of see how these launches play out. And of course, like if I've been hands-on early with something, that means it's been under embargo. So there are times that we can talk about certain things and times that we can't. It's frustrating for everybody, but this is the way that this game is played. And you know that content will be coming out, and hopefully we can expand on these conversations very, very soon. But oh, I've got to do this. Azariah. Okay, hold on. Magnificent, majestic, magnanimous. Worked it on magnanimous. All right, one more time. Second try. Magnificent, magnificent, majestic, magnanimous, miraculous, merciful, motivational Monday morning. One and esteemed chat. Man, I'm so proud of myself when I can get that on the first try. But thanks for dropping in, Azariah. Oh, and I do want to just point out, you know, I'm not trying to make everything sound doom and gloom or like, oh, woe is me. This is that time of year, like. I really have appreciated the friends around me and the people that have been supporting the channel, and I kind of just been taking stock of where to take some of this content next. I, you know, just got a really lovely card from John Gao. Just the loveliest little note that he sent to wish me some happy holidays, and I really appreciated that, John. This was a really lovely little bit of writing to get in my mail when I was able to pick that up, and it meant a lot. Just again, those moments that we can take where we can kind of check in with each other and we can say, "Hey, you're appreciated. I appreciate you." It really means a lot. So, Georgie's already making fun of me. "Pff, too many tabs. You should see my mom's laptop with over 100 tabs and 8 gigabytes of RAM. She's using tabs as bookmarks." Oh, and Team Fry saying, "Good evening, folks." Good to see you in the chat, Team Fry, as always. I'm always shocked. Like, you see someone's like old desktop or like an ancient laptop, and you're like, how are you keeping that thing running? I know it's got like 16 gig of RAM, but I can see it like literally every website you've ever been to in the history of your browsing endeavor is like open and active all at once. And here I am trying to do like just a streaming video site and this massive workstation that I've built, a Threadripper with 64 gigs of RAM, just crawls, just like drags to a halt. And it just really makes me like, maybe I'm just not as good at all this stuff as I think I am. What is going wrong? And now I can't even like I was entertaining like, do I want to do a system rebuild? Maybe I want to switch cameras, go to a full frame camera, and just like the world is melting down around us. And like I'm not gonna put 2 grand into RAM to build a new workstation right now. Oh, I got a shout out. Bionic Scoop just jumped into the chat saying, "One!" And I gotta say, Scoop! Barry Johnson and Jimmy Fire Dragon already beat me to it. Oh, John Gow, yeah, I loved it. No, I mean that really made my day, and I was gonna send you just sort of a private message on the side, and you're like, you know what? I actually got to shout out John. John's lovely note really meant a lot to me, so I'm gonna say a thank you on the stream today. And I also got to send a shout out to Gary the Fireman, subscribed with Prime for 48 months. 48 months. That's our 4-year anniversary. And he's wishing everybody in the chat a happy Hanukkah. So, you get one acapella fanfare of glory. Because while I'm playing around with all these things, I still haven't diagnosed like what actually causes these individual audio borks. So like I had this cute little stream deck from Barry Johnson sent me this. He was like, "Man, dude, you got to clean up your stream." And I was using it for a while, and then I would push a button and the entire audio in my system would nuke. So I took that out of the chain, and I tried playing around with Restream and a couple audio plugins and software and hardware, and I've just been like slowly but surely whittling everything down. And every single time I come back to some kind of inconsistency in the stream, it's usually something on a website. I have no idea how do I fix a server side issue? Oh, Barry, thanks so much for that. Your Lumix G9 still looks fantastic to us. Well, I appreciate that. So, um, why don't we knock out just a little housekeeping? There's a Patreon thing. Oh, I don't even have that up on this computer. I'll mention it. I won't be able to screen share it. But I did get 2 videos out. One published this morning. And again, in the whole grand scheme of like sponsored videos and working with brands, and I try not to turn every video I make into some kind of commercial, but it is kind of interesting to me, like when you get a request. So their request was, you should launch this, first thing Monday morning. And I do my podcast on Monday mornings, and they were like, "That's fine." So I'm not sure how this video is gonna go. So let me pull up some screen share here. One, this is a product that's been out for a little while. I've had it for a little while, and I just needed to finish up what I think is a really clever gadget. Um, the title of the video, I'm not a gimbal guy, but this one might change my mind. The Hohem iSteady M7 review. It's a smartphone gimbal with AI. It's got AI in it, but I'm happy that it has AI in it. So, uh, without spoiling too much of the video, I fall into these really bad habits. Um, if I get a product and I set out to review it, if it's something that's really not for me, I can actually cut that video really quickly. When I start using something and I'm like, oh, I really dig this. And I can use it on this other upcoming project. And I can also use it for this other thing that I'm working on. And this actually fits with another piece of commentary. I never get around to reviewing that thing because it just immediately becomes a part of the workflow and I'm looking at it and I'm using it and I'm handling it every day. And in my brain, that's like an overwhelming vote of confidence. Like, that's the best review I could give something, is that I'm really using it. But then I realized, like, oh, I went a whole month and I probably should have said something about that phone camera. Or, oh, I've been using this gimbal for, I want to say, almost 2 months now. Maybe I should mention that. They don't know that that's what I'm using in the video. It's a gimbal. The gimbal is moving around and doing stuff. I'm not showing the thing I'm using to make the video. I'm just making the video. So, kind of as a year wrap, if you have someone who's in that kind of influencer or TikTok or production space, this is one of the coolest stabilizing products I've ever seen, and the least exciting thing about it is how it stabilizes your video, because it has the AI in it. And you know how I feel about AI. So, that's a thing. And then the other video, this is a sponsored video. I'm working with the folks over at Rokid just to kind of wrap up some holiday conversation on potential gift giving, but finally getting to spend a little time with their AR spatial bundle. So this is Rokid's glasses and mini brain combination. This is the Rokid Max 2 glasses with the Station 2. And again, this combo's been out for a little bit, but now would be maybe a good time to shop it, as you're not paying that launch retail price, and some of the sales on the Rokid site are actually pretty good. But I think this is just another opportunity, and I kind of turn these videos into, so I get the brief and it's like, you've got to talk about Christmas all video long. And like, I'm not going to do that. I want to use a part of this video just to explain how few people really understand what this experience is like. And so, while ostensibly the entire video is focused on this combo, there's a little brain that does all the spatial computing, and the glasses are a monitor. They just project the image out in space in front of you. Every single time I'm around people who have never, let me rephrase that. It is exceedingly rare in our circles of families and friends that I'm talking to people who have ever had any kind of face display on their face. The adoption of VR helmets, a lot of people have like, oh yeah, I've like looked through VR once or twice. And you're like, when? Oh, like that game at the mall where you're like shooting at the beach. And you're like, that was like 30 years ago, dude. Um, or it's just like, oh, like a buddy of mine has an Oculus and I put it on my face once. There's so little experience with this idea and all the different permutations. Like, maybe you put glasses on your face just for notifications. Maybe you put glasses on your face to watch a movie. Maybe you put glasses on your face to immerse yourself in a virtual environment. There is almost no practical consumer facing education for any of this. And every single time I get one of these sponsored videos, the script in my video ultimately becomes, how do we better share this idea with people around us? Because I really feel like these little glasses between like $300 and $500, this is the best on ramp to showing people what multimedia can look like in a face display. It's a really fun experience. It is life changing if you do a lot of traveling. Like, hey, I'm gonna sit on an airplane, I'm gonna be super comfortable, I'm gonna have this huge movie theater experience all to myself. It's super discreet, it really doesn't look. I mean, when you focus on these thumbnails and you see like I've got these kind of bug eyed glasses on my face, if you're staring at just me, yeah, you can tell that those are weird glasses that are doing something unusual. When you're on an airplane with hundreds of other people, no one notices. It is so much more discreet than if you tried to show up looking like RoboCop in an Apple mixed reality headset, right? That would that would draw more attention to you. This is pretty cake. And the different flavors of those experiences, I think, really matter. Like if you're trying to look at something like Ray Neo or what an X Reel can bring to the table, or these Rokids and their station and their little mini brain, every manufacturer has kind of landed on subtle permutations and slight differences that bring something interesting to the table, and nobody knows about them. I'm still making these videos from the very first TCL headset that I put on during the pandemic. And I was like, hey, this is a really cool idea. Um, there's been very little movement in the market at all. It was like this huge victory. One of my daughter's closest friends, her mom was like, "Hey, I just want to get my husband something kind of weird, just something out there, something he was not expecting." And she got him a pair of face displays, of XR glasses, and he didn't like immediately blow up. But I just got a message from him that he took a flight to Michigan, and he was like, "Oh my god, these things are great." And you're like, "I know, they're awesome." It's like, I'm usually watching movies on my phone or something. Now I'm not. And you're like, that's what we were trying to tell you. And now, when your daughter is watching Elena of Avalor on your nice TV, if you want to watch something else or play a game or something, plug them in, give them a try. Yeah, I think I'm going to do that. You got it, dude. So anyway, just some really fun stuff to put together. I know how people feel about sponsored videos, and I know how people how people feel when it's like, well, this is an advert, so he's paid to say nice things about this. But I feel at this point, I've built a track record of almost 6 years of content talking about how much I appreciate being able to put a giant screen on your face. And I feel like over the last 10 years, I've been talking about how to improve every gadget you own with some kind of external monitor. And I think the most exotic and the most fun version of a portable display is a face display. So you can take that however you want to take that if you feel like my opinion has been compromised because it's a sponsored video. I'm gonna take a quick drink of coffee, and then we can start looking. Oh, I just got to block this person here on the chat. We can jump into some news, and then when we get to the end of the video, if we want to let the chat kind of just drift, I am totally cool with that. I don't need to turn every podcast into a pajama podcast, but we can roll with it because there's been some fun stuff out there that I haven't necessarily put into the rundown for this week's show, but other things that we can chat about. From Ted. Speak more to the video editing on the Rokids as it pertains to Christmas, please. So, I didn't get to expand on this very much. I peppered it in. They didn't seem to really want me to dig too deep into what all of the performance and compute capabilities were of the little station. It is very similar to an older premium tier Android chipset, something slightly around the tier of a Snapdragon 865. So if you install video editing software on the Roku station, it is capable. But if you have a phone with video out and it's a more modern chipset, you could just plug directly into the phone, and it's pretty nice. I've done that a few times. Again, mostly on airplanes. I'm not walking around my house where I've got a massive workstation, nice laptops and tablets, tons of other displays that I can use. I don't tend to do that very much at home. But the second I'm out and about, I really don't like sitting in front of a laptop screen or sitting in front of a TV or something like that. I can plug into my phone, fire up LumaFusion. If I want to get real fancy, LumaFusion will cast to an external display. So I can look down at my phone kind of under the projection, and I can edit with my thumbs, and then when I want to see the playback, I can see a cast view of just the playback in the Rokids. I wish I could flip it, but that would be really hard to control. But yeah, especially when you're editing mobile, I really think a lot of people would appreciate what you can do with like that kind of phone level compute power now. Oh, Vasicos. I always like the Jedi aunt story. Oh, my Aunt Karen. God, that, oh man. And it's like, is so silly. I did the Oasis driver for my mixed reality headset because Microsoft tried to kill Windows MR, and someone brought it back, and there's like a little Steam plugin, and the controllers still don't work great. So I can't play something like Beat Saber with good accuracy. Like if even on the easiest levels, I'm still like, this doesn't feel right, but it's getting better, and they've actually issued a couple patches to that Oasis driver. But it's still one of my all-time happiest moments was seeing my aunt, who was super into like Jane Austen and period dramas and Pride and Prejudice, and going to like balls, like events. I'm using the word ball as an event. And her husband is super hardcore into Star Wars, and she just smokes him with a pair of lightsabers. We still tell that story about my Aunt Karen. From Mr. Maug, last year I bought a face display, and yep, traveling was amazing. I played Soul Blade on my tablet on the plane. Good times. And even just doing something passive, like I just want to watch a movie. Why would I want to watch a movie on some like dinky in plane screen or on a phone? And I keep showing, like, look around you. Everyone on the plane is like crunched up and looking down at their phone or looking over a laptop on this tiny little airplane tray. Just, it's really good times. Simon says, Hypno, bills need to be paid, and you love AR glasses. Evangelize, my brother Juan. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And Ted, get that holiday cash. Take their money. From Team Fry, been dailing the iPhone 17, and this is the first base model iPhone that I'm probably not returning. Did not expect that. I'm glad to hear that. Again, for as much as I don't like the corporation, it's still, I want people to like the gadgets they own. So, everything we're going to be talking about this week, all of the show notes, all of the housekeeping, every link is going to be available on this week's blog post for the podcast on somegadgetguide.com. And of course, audio versions will be out later this afternoon. I do like a cleaned up audio version for Patreon, where I really try to like clean out like gaps and me drinking coffee and some of the audio shenanigans that happen when I'm using a streaming service like Restream. But there is sort of an ad supported interrupted version of the podcast on somegadgetguy.com. You can subscribe to either if you're a patron. But obviously, if you're a patron, you should get the cleaner, prettier audio version of that. Oh, and Gadget Goddess saying, hello, all, listen mode only. So I did get to tune in a little last, was it not last week? Oh my God, never mind. I'm going to shut up. But I've been trying to pop into your streams again. I'm not trying to distract in comments or anything, but know that I've appreciated like how fun the conversations have been. And I really need to spend more time with my friends, even if it's like digital acquaintances through live streaming shenanigans. I'm trying to get back into the habit. It's tough. I had to take a break from a lot of stuff just with my daughter's activities. Like being an assistant coach for a softball team took up so much time. So, we're going to jump in with two news articles, court cases, and both of them coming from Ars Technica. So this podcast sort of brought to you by Ars Technica. Oh, do I have? Hold on. I'm going to have to fix that later. And now I hear industrial equipment right outside my window. This is going to be a fun podcast, I think. I think this is going to be nice. So, first up, this is written up by Kyle Orland. Apple loses its appeal of a scathing contempt ruling in iOS payments case. This is still one of the biggest Apple related stories of the last 5 years. Apple's locked down App Store. We went through a whole series of antitrust investigations. It was ruled that Apple is employing monopolistic business practices that are unfair to both customers and to developers, and that they would need to open up their platform not to like sideload programs or let you install from other sources, but simply The first step was to allow for alternative methods of payment. Apple's business practices have been shocking and horrific, and they don't get enough pushback. But we bring up all of these stories about, like, the one that really rings out to me was their issue with WordPress. So, WordPress had an app, they updated the app to allow people to pay for WordPress services through a separate um, uh, credit card transaction. And Apple said, no, we can't approve your app. You've got to remove that. And so WordPress cut monetization out of the iOS app, and Apple still refused to update the app until they replaced the monetization features so that Apple could get a cut of every transaction for WordPress through iOS and macOS. And that's only one example. So we went through this entire court battle with Epic, and Epic sued Apple and lost mostly everything except for this idea that Apple can't restrict consumers from purchasing via other alternative means. That if you lock this down and say you can only pay for services on Apple products through Apple payment services, that's anti consumer. So, what did Tim Cook do? Now, I need this to be explicit. Tim Cook is not a nice guy. He is an incredible politician and he is a super savvy businessman. But he took this ruling, which said you need to open up this payment purchasing and you have to let app developers include alternatives to for buying apps and services and games, and against the advice of Phil Schiller. Schiller said, "Hey, don't make a lot of noise about this. Just comply, but then people won't even know that it's a thing. We don't have to worry. It's going to be fine." Other Apple executives said, "Well, we can maliciously comply. We can open up alternative payments and then still charge developers up to a 27% cut." See, Apple usually takes a 30% cut. So if they use an alternative payment, they still give us a 27% cut, and we're complying with the court ruling, even though we're really not. We're maliciously complying. Apple loves to do this. All the way back when the EU was trying at the very beginning of trying to lock down a singular connector, micro USB would not have been the connector, but the EU tried even back then. And Apple's solution was, well, what if we made an adapter? You're like, well, that's even more e-waste. That doesn't actually comply with a universal connector for products. It works with USB-C. It wouldn't have worked with micro USB, but even under that kind of regulatory scrutiny, they still came up with a way to sell you more stuff, sell you more e-waste, and not actually comply with a regulator's ruling. So we get to this discovery that Apple is still trying to charge developers an additional fee for payments off of Apple's platforms. And one of Apple's executives perjured themselves about communications with Tim Cook. Tim Cook was responsible for this. The buck stops with Tim Cook. Tim Cook listened to differing advice between some of his executives. Schiller just seems to be the dude. The number of times that I've seen Phil Schiller pop up in some of these dicier conversations, like iMessage or the App Store, it seems like while he's still looking out for Apple's best interests and what will make them the most money in the long term, he's at least not trying to ratchet every single possible avenue to squeeze their most loyal customers and hurt them for short term monetary gain. Tim Cook seems pretty fine with hammering his own most loyal customers for short term monetary gain. So this was discovered. The judge in that original case said, no, that's not acceptable. Now we're just going to cut it. You used to have this on ramp. You had a period of time where we were going to start to employ some of these tactics or allow developers to use alternative payments. And now that's gone. You're doing it immediately. You're getting rid of this 27% cut that you're taking from off platform purchases. And Apple, of course, had to appeal that. That brings us to today. This is the appeal that Apple tried to pull off, and they lost this appeal. So we still need to see if there are going to be criminal contempt charges for the executive who perjured themselves. But at least now we're getting to that point where developers can be a little less concerned that Apple might win an appeal. See, that was the big concern. So the judge in the original ruling said, nope, you got to do it. Payments can be off platform. But if Apple had won the appeal, we're pretty confident that Apple would have been excessively punitive to any developer that took advantage of that off platform payment not having a fee attached. That's the power that Apple has in this market. The reality of doing business with Apple is if you don't give Apple everything they want, they will actively try to hurt you. And when I say that, it's not just a guess. Remember back just a couple minutes ago when I brought up that example of WordPress. Oh, I guess your app can't get updated. Oh, it's a shame. It really is just such a shame that, yeah, it looks like you got a pretty nice app there. Sure would be a shame if something happened to it. Oh, it's just such a bummer. It's not complying with the App Store regulations that we set forth. So, you just keep working on it and then you just keep resubmitting it. And when we find that the app is in compliance, then we'll let it go. We'll let it pop out. Another example, I have no love for Facebook. I kind of wish Facebook would disappear. But during the pandemic, Facebook did this thing with Spaces where if you wanted to contribute money to a producer or someone running like an event, we're all having to do these virtual events. Facebook said, we're not going to take a cut of that during these difficult times. You can use our platform, you can use our streaming, you can host this event, and if someone contributes money to your event, it's all going to you. And then Facebook started getting all this static because, well, I donated $1 to this person and they only got 70 cents. So Facebook says, oh, okay, well, here's the problem. You donated through an iPhone. So Apple takes a cut. But Apple said, oh no, you can't tell people that we're taking the cut. So now we're not going to let you update your apps anymore until you remove the disclosure of who's really taking the cut of that money. And Facebook had to just eat all of the anger from people who, oh, Facebook's scamming us and Facebook's doing this. And, oh, you can't ever trust anything Facebook does. And they actually did try to do something nice, and Apple never got punished for it. In the court of public opinion, that looked like a Facebook greedy tactic when it was an Apple greedy tactic. And again, we know these rules are not fairly and consistently applied. I very much doubt that 30% of every purchase you make on Amazon goes to Apple. If you buy something on an iPhone through Amazon, does Apple get a 30% cut? No. That's stupid. So anyway, Kyle Orland has a much more concise. So again, all of this is extremely well sourced and well cited, but they're just links. So back in April, District Court Yvonne Gonzalez Rogers delivered a scathing judgment finding that Apple was in willful violation of her 2021 injunction intended to open up iOS App Store payments. There are links all throughout this that sum up what I just rambled my way through. But CEO Tim Sweeney has obviously been celebrating this as a victory because the momentum from this all came back from that original Epic versus Apple lawsuit. But he's absolutely correct. When pitching Epic's own outside payment options to major iOS developers, Sweeney said he frequently has to address fears that lower payment fees will be overwhelmed by the drop in users caused by this kind of Apple retaliation. Quote, we're just too afraid of Apple hurting our business. Sweeney said in summary of the common response from other developers, the sad truth is everybody's afraid of Apple. So the big fear was, let's say you jumped in, you took your payments out of the Apple payment platform and you let customers buy directly with credit cards, and then this ruling was overturned on appeal. If you had been one of those developers, we could be pretty confident that Apple would be gunning for your business, would do something punitive to hurt your updates or to hurt your future on the platform or to make your app kind of vanish in the App Store. That seems like Apple today. That seems like the kind of Apple we have who maliciously complies based on executive temperaments, where an executive will even perjure themselves under oath to protect this kind of business model. Now that this appeal has Apple has lost this appeal, hopefully this means a few more developers might take advantage of other payment services. So if you go to a product, a game, a service, a podcast, something on your iPhone, if there's an alternative to pay, you should look. Because now I really feel people need to make a bigger deal out of, if you pay through your Apple Pay, it's going to be 30% more. You need to eat the costs of your convenience of using the iPhone. If you pay directly, use a credit card, any other type of financial transaction, we don't need to give Apple that cut for doing nothing. I mean, that's just what it is. It's like Apple just allows us to be seen on a computer. I mean, just imagine if that were the relationship on Windows. A developer wants to make a program for Windows. Microsoft better get a 30% cut just so they can exist. I kind of feel like we should be over that by now. So, sorry, let me just see if there are any comments on this. This one gets me proper lit up because this is like the smallest token of consumer fairness, and even then Tim Cook, not Apple, not some amorphous blob, it wasn't like someone in the App Store billing department made an executive decision and, oh, I just didn't know Tim Cook. And Tim Cook has always been under oath. Like, he testified before the House before a House Judiciary Committee saying there is no bullying at Apple except for all of this bullying of their top developers and bullying of their most loyal customers. Again, this hurts the people who do business with Apple first. The ramifications of these bad business decisions trickle out and hit everybody, but the people who are hurt first are the ones who are the most diehard in those spaces. So, I digress. Stevie Coleman saying, Hola Juan, ¿cómo está? Está bien. You know what's funny is, like, I used to say SC. Just if you want to get a chuckle out of that. Team Fry. Schiller always struck me as one of the more reasonable higher ups at Cupertino. Um, he's the kind of dude I really feel, because like last week we talked a little bit about it, and there's been even more chatter, just this executive drain. Like all of these people, the tops of these different departments are leaving Apple. They're getting poached by AI companies. They're just aging out. Some of them just want to retire. And I think Tim Cook, he probably needs to have an exit strategy for 2026. I think he's outlived his usefulness as the political businessman that Apple made tons of money on. And I think we need to see a pendulum swing. We need to see someone at Apple who's going to champion products and R&D. You're sitting on all this money. Stop doing stock buybacks. Stop just appeasing the short-term whims of investors. Apple is this monster in the market, and they can bully their investors for a minute, right? Just a short pendulum swing of, we're going to dump a ton of money into what comes after the iPhone. We're going to skunks works. We're going to go experimental. A lot of this stuff is going to flop. But if you want Apple to keep writing these incredible checks, if you want Apple to keep generating this insane revenue, there has to be something to build on after. And they don't have it. So I really hope an ideas guy gets to the top of the food chain. I doubt it. I bet it's going to be another corporate shill. But I also waffle, like someone like Schiller would have, I think, respected that mission. What can Apple really bring to the future of telecommunications, to the future of consumer electronics? And I don't think he's likely to get a gig like that. So anyway, I just think it's this just a huge, it, such an own goal, right? If they had listened to Schiller, Apple would be in much better position on a couple of these regulatory issues facing Apple today. Gary the fireman. Tim Apple, show me the money. I mean, how greedy do you have to be to look at that court case and say we have to allow for off platform payments, and another executive say, well, we could still take a cut, and Tim Cook go, yes, that sounds like the right course of action. How evil do you need to be Team Fry. Oh man, I remember Apple's RCS shenanigans. They're still ongoing. Again, look at Apple having to comply with regulators just to do something like use a better messaging standard. Apple didn't do that magnanimously. Apple was forced to do that by regulators. Same thing. You know why AirDrop is working with QuickShare? It's not because Apple did something magnanimous or Google hacked Apple's servers. It's Apple having to comply with regulators. Right now, you can't vote with your wallet and change Apple's corporate behavior. It's too big. There are too many people out there. If you don't buy another iPhone, there's still millions of iPhones being sold. Until there's a huge wave of consumer discontent, it's not going to happen. The only thing we have to push back against Apple's awful business practices are these kinds of court cases and regulatory actions. So if you like that now you can share a photo from your Android, and right now just your Pixel, from your Pixel to your parents' iPhone, the reason you can do that is because of regulators in the EU. I'm glad Google implemented it. Google deserves credit for doing the work of stitching it together with QuickShare, but the only reason it works is because Apple was forced to use a proper standard, Wi-Fi aware. And if they hadn't been forced to do that, they would still be using all of the parts of Wi-Fi, but creating their own proprietary Wi-Fi file sharing protocol. And that's what Apple under Tim Cook is like. Let's take all the work from these massive organizations like the Bluetooth Special Interest Group or the Wi-Fi Alliance, and then let's break everything that allows for interoperability and just make a bespoke product just for our newest customers. And then we'll make more money by breaking standards for everyone else. And then we can make commercials about how, oh, it just doesn't work. You want an iPhone because it just works. But they broke what made it work. Anyway. Um Oh, from Oliver. Hey, Juan, glad that you interacted with my Sailfish post over on Mastodon. Hope you're excited about Sailfish. As a matter of fact, I'm on an Xperia 10.3 with Sailfish OS typing this now. I am super excited to see what might be happening there. I maybe have been obnoxious to just their public email saying, hey guys, what's going on? I would love to talk more about your products and or services. Um, from Team Fry, damn it, Juan, now I feel bad about the iPhone 17. No. See, that's the point I'm making. We need to apply pressure in different ways. When we're talking about $4 trillion market cap corporations, for us, and especially Team Fry, because you are a part of the conversation on what it's like to use these products, and you're sharing this from a decently editorial side of the conversation. This isn't like Team Fry. I know for a fact you're not buying the iPhone 17 because that's going to be your only phone for the next 5 years. We're a part of a conversation, and especially folks in this chat right now. We cycle through devices, we play with things, we pick things up in a way that's very different from any kind of average consumer. If you're listening to a podcast like mine, you're not average. Don't try to act like, even though maybe your needs are streamlined or basic, you have a curiosity about this market, which is not average at all. So for me, what I've been trying to do is say, hey, as I pick up these products, I've very strongly been recommending to all of the people around me, is your device still capable of getting you through the day? Well, this is a problem. Okay, well, what's the problem there? Well, it doesn't do this, or it's starting to slow down, or the battery doesn't last. A lot of those things sound like a repair issue, not a replace issue. And I've actually convinced quite a few people not to jump on a new iPhone, not to jump on a new Galaxy, not to jump on a new Pixel, but just go to a repair shop and see, can you just get a battery replacement? Can you just fix that crack in your screen? That to me becomes a major part of this conversation. If you've gotten to that point, you've exhausted your other opportunities, and you do need to buy a new device, then sure, let's talk about options, shopping a new device, what you care about and what you need versus what you want. Totally get it. But I think 2026 is going to be an even worse year than 2025 for iterating and improving on devices. I think a lot of devices are really going to end up being compromises, even more compromised than the generation before. So the iPhone 17 actually does a few interesting things over the iPhone 16. I think that's fair. I wouldn't recommend an iPhone 16 owner do a 1 year upgrade, but I think it's still fun to pop in and try out and see like what is it about this device that people are kind of gravitating towards. So an individual device purchase means almost nothing. And even if I could influence literally everyone around me to not buy the new iPhone, dozens of people, is that that couldn't possibly register on Apple's sales, right? So we've got to apply pressure in more creative ways, and we've got to go top down. We've got to start writing more letters. We got to start talking to elected officials. We got to start talking to regulators. I don't think we're going to get much traction right now in the FCC and the FTC, but states attorneys general, when we see these unfair business practices, don't just gripe about it on social media. Write out what you would have said on threads, then copy and paste it and send it in an email to an attorney general. And I think that is going to matter a lot more than just, well, I'm not going to buy this iPhone this year. Let me tell you, I haven't purchased anything Samsung since the Galaxy S10. Do you think Samsung cares at all? I'm a non-issue to Samsung. I am not a paying customer and I'm not someone they can win over. I am a void. If I criticize Samsung, I can promise you they take those criticisms and go, but this guy doesn't matter. Even if a bunch of paying customers are complaining, they're still buying the product, so they're still validating Samsung's terrible business practices. It's a really messy market, and the only thing that's going to work for us is having some kind of leverage, which is bigger than just a boycott. We've got to go after how they do business politically, which is something Apple has done very well. From Ted, yeah, from Apple. We're gonna need a taste of that action. Hey, just let us wet our beaks just a bit, to the tune of almost 30%. Oh, Goat V8. I'll listen to your righteous fury towards Apple all day. From Mr. Maug, I'm confident Apple has more money than the federal government. I mean, we keep hearing about like what the deficit is. You might not be wrong. um, Oh, Team Rye, I definitely agree. Again, when I go off on Apple, see, this is the other thing too, is like I feel like I'm in a safe space talking to nerds. And I hope that people in these chats or that people who tune into my podcast understand that my ire of a $4 trillion corporation is not me yelling at the individual users on the ground using their products. Now, when someone comes to me and they say, "Oh, I can't do this and this is a problem and why isn't this working?" I'll point out like, "Well, you made a bad purchasing decision. I know everyone told you iPhone, 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 but what you're describing, this was not the right tool for your needs. You needed something else." And then they get real defensive, but oh, but it's the best. And you're like, "Yeah, but not for what you're doing or not for your budget." So I'll get a little snarky and confrontational individually, but when I'm sitting here and complaining like, Tim Cook, Phil Schiller, judges, courts, regulators, that has almost nothing to do with the purchasing practices of someone on the ground floor until they start complaining like, "Oh, but I guess I'll just keep giving Apple my money and I'll let them keep screwing me." And you're like, "Well, that's a problem." You see that there's a solution. From Shut Them 9, it's crazy that every single one of the tech reviewers are only using iPhones and Samsung. They're really blind when testing other devices. So there are a lot of reviewers out there who are genuinely handling and using other devices. The bigger the reviewer, the less authentic or earnest I feel their opinions are. I'm not trying to shout people out or really dig into the YouTuber drama. I hate playing that drama game. Last time I did an actual critique of someone, I think it was the Xperia 5. Was the Xperia 5 Mark III? So it's been a long time since I felt like, oh, you know what? I'm really going to mix it up with a bigger YouTube channel. And it didn't work. All it did was make a really bad faith, in earnest, unearnest review more popular. So the more I try to shout out individuals, the more I just give them traffic. And the more people can't contain, well, I know what I'll do. I'll share their video and then I'll tell people it's a bad video. Well, you just made them a ton more money. So, it's really disappointing. There are a lot of people who really do genuinely live gadgets and love playing with other manufacturers, pointing out the good, the bad. It's just they are so much harder to find. The YouTube algorithm is stacked against you, both as the creator and as the viewer. We're in this together. But the more time you spend trying to dig up those videos, know you can subscribe and you can smash bell icons. You can literally search for their content and you will not find it because YouTube would prefer you spend all your time on the biggest possible channels that have the most monetization, have the best brand deals with major manufacturers. And the only way that you can escape that is to not use YouTube as the platform for finding the content you say you like. I've got videos on this and I've mentioned it in podcasts before, but go get an old school RSS feed reader. Find a channel of someone who's you feel like does a good job of handling other devices and fairly critiquing and being consistent. That's the biggie for me. If I see someone pick up a Samsung and go, "Oh, well, it's not a big deal that Samsung glues their batteries into the frame," but the week before they'd said, "Oh, you can't possibly ever buy an LG because LG uses glue on the battery." Well, that's a shill, right? So I'm not going to subscribe to that channel. But when you find the people who are internally consistent, I don't like it when Honor does this with their phones, and now Samsung has done this with their phones. I don't like that either. Well, that's someone that you should reward with traffic and with sharing their content and commenting and liking and doing all that stuff. The best way I found to do that is to get an old school RSS feed reader, go to their channel link, put the channel link in the RSS feed reader, and now you have a feed of content you've subscribed to, but it's chronological. It ends. At some point, you're done. You don't need to just keep mindlessly scrolling through other junk, but you'll see all of the stuff that they put out, and then you can give that traffic directly as opposed to hoping you smashed the bell icon that they'll give you an alert when a new video comes out from another channel. Because it really doesn't work. I can't tell you the number of people who have smashed bell icons and then say they never get notifications on my new videos. It's useless. It does not help us, especially if it's a smaller or medium-sized channel. Do from Loco Rudy. This is the main time of the year when I realize I'm not an average consumer, especially when having tech conversations with family as the family tech guy. I see it on their facial expressions. So, Loco Rudy, my big plea this year, and you'll probably hear if you guys catch the public version of the podcast, I've been putting this little 2-minute clip into one of my ad blocks. Talk to all of your family and friends about old devices. Get them to stop storing old gadgets. I went through my little bookshelf of my museum of phones and found 10 more phones just since last year that had all battery puffed. I do this once a year, and now I'm just starting to lose more and more devices to failing batteries. Even when I try and I regularly go through and try to trickle and top off, keep all the batteries kind of at mid charge. There might be an old Samsung in someone's shoebox. Tell them to get rid of it because that is a massive fire hazard. And this is the time of year you're going to holiday parties. Just talk to people around you like, "Hey, do you have like an old phone? You should get rid of it." Don't hold on to this stuff. Future, it's here. Hey guys, just joining in. Are you guys talking about the video I put in the Patreon? Actually, that's kind of not a bad segue. I did not pull up the Patreon here. Now, this is something I always get really pissy about because I talk about junk like this all the time. We have a manipulated market where popularity rules over actual consumer experiences. I've talked about this numerous times where, oh, whoops. Oh, people were sharing a bunch of pet photos and I missed it. Oh, no, for some reason the chat went. Let me scroll down. Okay, sorry. Doing two things at once and trying to host at the same time. When you are under embargo, you have to you have to deal with the company's requirements. Obviously, there are a couple products on my desk right now that I can't tell you much about because they're under embargo. And there's a weird split embargo where they want us to make content over multiple publishing dates, and I'm kind of just saving it up for when I can finally just talk about what the products are and what they do. I'm not trying to like milk out little bits of viewer engagement and then say, "Oh, but I can't tell you anymore." Tease, tease, tease. I don't really like doing that. I'm exhausted. I'm tired. I've got too much on my plate right now. But we know for a fact you're a massive channel. You've got a great relationship with Apple. Apple's always going to win in any kind of implied or sort of I guess implied comparison. What's a deal breaker on another product is totally fine on an Apple product. And then in Android land, for some reason, Samsung has still occupied that space, even though they deserve a ton more scrutiny. So this is a video titled "Why Big Tech Reviewers Are Lying to You." It's a smaller channel. I think he's got about 12,000 subscribers, but video's done like 130,000 views since he's published it. I want to say he published it like a day ago, or maybe this morning. And it's the stuff that I've been talking about for a couple of years now. So I'm glad he's getting some success in this. It's always fun when a new channel pops up because YouTube will heavily promote a newer channel, but it's the same talking points. You look at viewer metrics, look at any type of video that a big time YouTuber with over 10 million subscribers puts out. If it's a OnePlus, look at go to Google Trends and look at the search data, and you can predict what that big time YouTuber is going to say. Oh, well, I mean, it's really good, but I don't think you should buy it. It's not as popular. If there's ever a comparison, like, oh, we're two big time YouTubers and we're going to talk about the difference between iOS and Android. Well, look at their traffic. If they get a ton more traffic from iOS users, iOS is going to win. Even though it's set up as like oh, we're just doing a friendly comparison. No, 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 no. They'll find reasons to make iOS win. I did a video retort to the folks at Petapixel. We're talking about I think it was the Galaxy S24, talking about the Galaxy S24 launch. And out of nowhere, one of the hosts had to include a whole section. Well, why are Android cameras just so darn terrible? And you're like, wow, you must be really bad at photography if you can only get good photos and videos out of an iPhone. Why are you hosting a podcast on a photography website? And it's just time and time again. I'm a broken record at this point. Almost everything I talk about in my reviews highlights this inequity, this lack of consistency in reviews. But this is a really well done video. Why big tech reviewers are lying to you. And this was shared by Nick Gay in our patron chat. So there's a little mini chat that we have in Patreon. But again, it's just kind of refreshing. I'm not putting specific names on every single critique I have, but it's also just been funny. What was it? It was for the OnePlus 15 launch. I wrote up on the private Discord, I bet you channels are going to complain about this, this, and this. And then people immediately went running off to like MKBHD and Mr. Who's the Boss. And it was like, without watching the videos, I could immediately predict how they were going to critique the OnePlus. And you know what? They just can't give it a full-hearted recommendation again this year.Maybe next year, OnePlus. Better luck next time. And it's so obvious. They did it with LG. They do it with all of the smaller brands. And I just wish I could, but it's just not competitive. Even though every single one of the things I'm complaining about, Samsung does worse. But I have to give Samsung a positive recommendation because they make more money from Samsung videos. So Nick, that was a solid share. It was a really well done video. Um, Hold on one second. Let me get some coffee. We only made it through one article. We almost blew an hour here. Oh, from Shut Them 9. I really appreciate that. You do a really good job. I wonder why you're not so much popular, maybe because you don't really review the mainstream phones. That's absolutely it. I made a conscious effort to step away. I do not tackle Apple products. I don't feel it is in my audience's best interest for me to spend any time focusing on Apple content or Apple products because I don't like how they do business. And then you can also catch, I have a 90-minute podcast, How I Became a Samsung Hater, and you can too, where I detail both like the political, the professional, and then the personal reasons, I guess all three, why I really fell off the Samsung bandwagon too. I think they're a horrific company that do terrible business, again, with their partners and with their customers. And I don't feel it's in my audience's best interests for me to spend a whole bunch of time also highlighting their products just so that I can tell people I don't think you should do business with Samsung. So cutting those two out of the equation definitely limits a lot of marketing opportunities, which then makes me less popular to the YouTube algorithm. Um, Let me get this out of the way there. Okay, so there is another. I'm gonna keep this one brief. This was shared by Dave Burns. I don't even know if Dave is in the chat, but he shared this on the private Discord. This one coming by way of my man crush John Brodkin over on Ars Technica. Verizon refused to unlock man's iPhone, so he sued the carrier and won. Verizon changed policy after he bought the phone, would not unlock it despite an FCC rule. So I'm not going to break down the entire chain of events here, but this is what I mean. As a paying customer, this man fell into a trap at Verizon, which should not have happened based on FCC and local state regulations. So, what was his recourse? To vote with his wallet? That got him nowhere. But he did have explicit language, and there was a time change in Verizon's policy after he purchased the phone. So he was able to take him to small claims court and he won. And now this is something that could potentially be open for a class action lawsuit because Verizon, I've not had great experiences doing business with Verizon. I don't think anyone really loves carriers or internet service providers. They're all kind of scammy to some degree. We don't like, and it's like it's a necessary evil to do business with the companies that provide us the pipes to the internet products and services we really want to use. But this could be a template. And it's a story just to kind of talk about like, hey, win one for the little guy. If someone else you know has experienced something similar, I'd be shocked if there's not a lawyer saying, hey, you know what? Verizon's got some pretty deep pockets. I bet you a lot of people have fallen prey to this scam where they were they were mandated, they had to let phones be unlocked. Oh, but we changed the rules on how that was going to happen after people purchased phones. So that should be illegal. That shouldn't be a controversial statement. You shouldn't be able to like just change the rules after someone started doing business with you. And when the federal government said you had to unlock these devices, Verizon just went, no, we just don't feel like it. That's like their big that's their big legal defense is the but I just don't wanna. Simon says hypno. How can I describe a great all-rounder with one class-leading feature by anyone other than Samsung or Apple? Oh, master of none. Oh, from Rob. I originally found SGG because you covered BlackBerry back when nobody else did during the BlackBerry 10 and Priv Key 1 heyday. Always appreciate that you cover the brands that us techies really enjoy. I am still like gutted that the BlackBerry Key 2 didn't take off better. I can't tell you, I revisit that phone. I have the BlackBerry Key 2 in red. That is a museum piece for me. I'm never going to let it go. And every couple of months, something comes up where I pull that phone off of my bookshelf and I fire it up, and it's slow and it's laggy. It's a little underpowered, and it's still one of the most brilliant communicating devices that has ever been made. And we just can't stick the landing on a niche product like that because of popularity. If it can't score tons of views and you can't pay massive YouTubers to say nice things about it, well, then I guess who would ever want a practical communicator device with a great keyboard that does all this great stuff? It gets 3 days of battery life. We're doomed as a species. We're doomed. And from Rob, I'm with you too, man. I personally feel carriers shouldn't be allowed to sell devices. It allows shady things like this to occur by unlocked always. And again, a lot of people will go because they can get some kind of deal or a trade-in. The carrier stores are the stores. But I agree with you. It's kind of like saying like, well, you get your internet from Comcast, better have a Comcast laptop. And we allowed that metaphor to work on mobile. But we have this illusion of competition. We had GSM carriers and CDMA carriers, and they kept recreating the same technologies, but in different ways, so they could lock consumers into their ecosystem. Can't take your GSM phone over to a CDMA carrier. That should have always been anti-consumer. We should have regulated the networks because they're built on a lot of public funds and said, no, you've got to compete with service and you got to compete with insurance and warranty. You can't just compete by offering a totally different version of the same technology so that you can lock consumers into your network. It's always been a massive failing of how this went down. From Lost Divine, Mr. Mobile's attachment keyboard. I mean, it's cool. Like if I could play with one, I don't know. Like if I could play with one of those on something like my Vivo X300, like a nice smaller phone, but I don't want to use a Samsung for a slightly smaller phone. Like that'd be fun. But I'm less likely to jump on an accessory for something like that when, oh man, so like just something like the BlackBerry Passport was just so key. Yeah, it was a weird or funky design, but then you use that keyboard and it's just built into the experience of the phone, and the gestures are beautiful and the tracking is excellent. The entire keyboard is a trackpad and each button is its own shortcut, and it's just so much better than putting a case on a phone. And that's what I miss, is that full, like it was baked into the DNA of this experience at its most fundamental level, and just so good. The Key 2 is so good. Even like the Unihertz attempts at kind of recreating a feeling of that get you close, and it's so close it's actually irritating that it's not as good. It's the real thing. Scoop saying I had the Key 2 LE and I loved it. Um, from Rob, I cut one up and it fits my X300 Pro. I use it at home for longer typing sessions. Good job. I'm not gonna buy one and then cut it up. Um, so Gary the Fireman saying Adam from Tech Odyssey did a great short on the Razer with a Clicks keyboard, and that's another one too. I want people to like their gadgets. Please understand, I am not a flip phone guy. I do not understand bendy, foldy plastic screens that fold into these makeup compact, double thick tech sandwiches that you've got a top tier chip, but you can't cool it. You've got a smaller battery, so you get less runtime. I really don't get them. I really just don't understand why someone would want that beyond the novelty of the flippy, bendy, super fragile plastic screen. But again, if that's kind of your gig, that'd be cool. I think it could be kind of fun to take the screen, the outer screen off of one of those phones and then just build. Actually, someone did that as a project, right? They took like the screen off of a Samsung Flip and then put a slider keyboard under it. Something like that would be rad. The same thing, someone did that with the LG Wing. So the Wing had that flip out top screen, and then underneath was another screen, and someone took the square out of the bottom screen and put like a little keyboard on it. All day, every day, let's go. I dig it. Stuff like that. I love the passion for making those kinds of projects happen, and I wish a manufacturer would give us something more akin to that. I really miss the smaller sideways slider keyboards, like the original Galaxy S on Sprint. excuse me, very early version of Android with you slide sideways and then you have this beautiful QWERTY keyboard under the screen. I would I would kill for something like that again. Bionic Scoop Passport Gang for life. Um Sorry, there's a whole bunch of things here. iPhone 15, smartphones. From Team Vride, smartphones are technologically advanced now, but each and every brand model just had a different feel in the early 2010s. And we were experimenting, we had more features to play with. They were better computers when they had more stuff. And now they're better cameras, but there's less that we can do with them. So we'll see. Oh, that's right, Rob. I completely forgot about this. And JGJ asking about this too. Crackberry Kevin thinks he's going to get it done. I'm skeptical but supportive. Thoughts on the Crackberry Kevin's campaign? I've a very surface understanding of what he's trying to accomplish. I don't think he's going to make much of a dent. I hope he can, but I feel like it's difficult to track down now who you would need to license different technology bits from because a lot of that RIM IP was sold off. It's not impossible, and I bet someone could get in there and do something really cool. Um, but that experience is so singularly tied to an idea or a philosophy of technology that we just don't appreciate today. And I'm cautious. I'm skeptical that Android can do it. That idea of a streamlined, efficient, battery powerful, multiple days workhorse communicator device, I just don't think is Android 16. So to do it well, you need to kind of walk away from what the current meta is in Android devices, and that's tricky. And again, there are a whole bunch of things like when the Passport came out, it actually had a really good camera on it. The Priv actually had a really good camera for its time too. I don't want to give up some of the nice things that we've gotten, but I want to be able to pick up a phone and go, this thing could last me a week of being a good streamlined communicating device. That's the philosophy I want to see from a BlackBerry again. So we'll need to see. I do want to follow this up because this is another one of these topics, another one of these news stories that I get really lit up about, and I could probably burn another hour of the podcast ranting and complaining about Google also in this regard. Let me take a quick sip of coffee, and then we're going to jump into this from TechCrunch. All right, written up by Rom Eyer or Iyer. I do not know. EU launches antitrust probe into Google's AI search tools. Later into the article, the commission will investigate to what extent the generation of AI overviews and AI mode by Google is based on web publishers' content without appropriate compensation for that, and without the possibility for publishers to refuse without losing access to Google search. This is a really big deal. I have brought this up a lot. I even made a video, it was 2 Google I/Os ago, right when I was really kind of facing a lot of the fallout from that whole Team Pixel debacle. Google is stealing from us. I don't feel there's a better way to put it, and I'm not inclined to give them the benefit of the doubt or to try and soften my critique. And no one at Google really cares what I have to say anyway. But you go to google.com and you type in a search, and now your early feed is dominated by information that Google has stolen, has taken from other websites that were written by humans, and they try to give you answers so that you don't leave the Google search page. There is no other description for that. That is content theft. Now they're doing it with videos too. Unfortunately, I'm still tied into using Google and YouTube as like free storage space for my videos. But I'd appreciate it if you'd watch my videos on Patreon or somegadgetguy.com. There's no other way to describe it. they'll put in like a little token link at the bottom that you can click on, but you don't really ever have a clear idea of where information was sorted or cited from, and then where you're going to go if you just click on the little link until you scroll down deeper into the summary, and then you can find maybe a couple little articles that might have generated that content. That is insufficient. That is not sufficient for the front facing search experience. This is fundamentally different than researching or citing information from links on like Wikipedia. The way that Google has created this platform, it's built on the confidence in search. And now, well, we can just take all the data off of all the websites and you don't ever have to go to the website. We'll just take that information from you. And to me, that is an absolutely financially destructive business practice. We're seeing it play out. Look at all of the publishing outlets, the Valnets and the Futures and the Condé Nasts that are having massive difficulties in keeping their sites operating and keeping them funded and generating revenue because a fundamental aspect of doing business with Google radically reduces the amount of traffic those websites get. This is a massive investigation that we absolutely need to pay attention to. And for me, fundamentally, again, especially if you live in Europe, start writing messages, start writing emails. Tell people, I do not like interacting with these services. I am not confident I'm always getting accurate information based on the way that the AI can improperly answer based on context and tokens. And when I find information, I want to give the humans who created that content the traffic and the money and the opportunities for revenue. This is insane. I'm so glad to see that we're finding some kind of pressure. It's another EU commission that's going to start investigating Google's business practices, but Google is 100% in the wrong. And Bing copying Google, 100% in the wrong. And this is not how we should be doing business with all of the websites that generate this traffic and are responsible for the ad revenue that Google based their empire on. The companies that are advertising with Google, it used to be just the first couple search results were Google ads. Now it's Google AI, then Google ads, then maybe a couple token gestures that, oh, this website might do it for you. We don't know. The search has gotten so terrible because Google knows that people will just spend more time on search. And then they'll spend more time interacting with AI. And it validates their business. Oh, look at all of the people that are using AI search now. They're not. People are not seeking out AI search. They're actively trying to get away from it. But it's this war of attrition and just wearing people down and wearing people down. And okay, I guess I'll just go with whatever the answer was here on the search page instead of trying to find it now because I have to go like 3 pages deep with useless links to articles that don't answer my question before I might find something relevant to what I'm asking. Even my Boolean operators don't work like they should. So I have this one linked. There are other stories to read, but it's just that's the kickoff. They're investigating. We need to watch this one closely, and I really hope that this is one of those that we can come back and hammer Google on. They need some outside force, regulatory, some kind of agency, a government to say, nah, we don't really feel that your explanation of this holds water. Because I can't find any other explanation or description and at the level of we're stealing other people's content. Uh-oh. Oh no. Let let me know if so according to my streaming site, I just vanished off of the internet. So I have no idea if I'm even still streaming. I'm going to just check real quick. Where I'm at. Oh, Gary says I still have. Briefly, I'm back now. Okay, good. See, it's one of those things I'm very anxious. Like, if Restream faces an interrupt, it can sometimes create an entirely new second link to re-establish the stream. But apparently, Simon says, I was just going to make the joke. Simon beat me to it. Shh, Juan, it will hear you, and you'll be Gemini-exized. This is what I get for criticizing Google. Like, oh, well, fine, then we'll just pull the plug on your stream on YouTube. This is another one that I'm really not sure how to share my. Oh, thank you everybody that I'm still streaming. Audio remained. Oh, good. Okay, good. Shut them. Google is listening. Gemini heard you. Thanks, Huff and Puff. Again, another critical story of AI. I'm not really quite sure how to properly sum up my intense displeasure over this business move, but I'm also not, it's one of those things. I'm not surprised. I'm just perpetually disappointed in their business practices. The folks over at Disney are making a $1 billion investment in OpenAI, and they will allow characters on Sora AI video generator. This one written up by Ashley Kaput over at CNBC. Quote, the rapid advancement of artificial intelligence marks an important moment for our industry, and through this collaboration with OpenAI, we will thoughtfully and responsibly extend the reach of our storytelling through generative AI while respecting and protecting creators and their works, Disney CEO Bob Iger said in a statement. So, a couple pieces moving around in there. One, Disney threw away $1 billion. OpenAI has no model for generating profit. They are increasing revenue, but they are hemorrhaging money. And the last two rounds of investor bait that OpenAI has put out have just been to pay off their server costs. Like they were a full year ago, they were like $10 billion. Oh, no, they were like $14 billion in the red. And then they raised another round of funding that I think got them like an stupid valuation. Like it was a $400 million valuation at like this $10 billion. And all it did was just kind of pay off how in the red they were. And they just recently did it again. While they're trying to play around this game of, are we a private company? Are we a not profit? Or what are we doing? They're still hemorrhaging money. So when they're in the red tens of billions of dollars, Disney throwing them $1 billion does nothing. And in fact, this is actually terrible for Sora. When you look at how much money it costs to do these little TikTok-y AI slop videos, all of this Gen AI, it is exceedingly expensive in terms of server costs, and that is ramping up how much usage each individual user is putting, is straining OpenAI's system. So they're spending even more to create useless content that's not really building any kind of sustainable revenue or sustainable profit for the company. So I just have to point out, like, one, Disney's stupid. Two, trying to just license a handful of characters is just opening up the floodgates for this content theft. Right now, Disney, I think, has also filed suit against Google against their characters in any way showing up in Google's generative AI platforms. So they're trying to have it both ways. We're going to protect our IP, but we're also giving our IP to one AI generating platform. And that doesn't work. Because as soon as some kind of AI slop is made in Sora, it's just going to get consumed by every other AI model out there, and that's going to train future AI products and services. It's like the fundamental misunderstanding of Disney executives on how this technology works and thinking they can pick a winner. That's what the gall and the pride, right? That's what's so galling is that I I can totally foresee Disney C-suite, the executives all meeting saying, we are so critical, we are so important, we can chip them some money, we'll be invested in their platform. That $1 billion is going to go far, and then we'll be able to dictate what AI company uses our products. And you're just like the most horrific misunderstanding of how any of this works with the arrogance of a Disney executive. So like it's not like I'm upset on Disney's behalf or oh no, now Google can't use AI Disney characters in their AI generating tools. It's just the fundamental stupidity and arrogance. The confident ignorance of people playing at the billion-dollar tier of these corporate decisions while we're all yelling. Like, there's no business model. You're not making money on this. This is a stupid product. Stop wasting our infrastructure for this kind of garbage. But investors are impressed. As long as the investors are impressed, then I guess everything's fine and society will crumble around us. But for a short period of time, we really made some good returns on investors' behalf. We're all real proud of that. That was Juan's John Cena tribute. You can't see me. From Future It's Here, OpenAI is bound to fail, then Microsoft will swallow them like an anaconda. From Future It's Here, I think it's taking them like 20 cents per video. I genuinely don't know what the numbers look like. Someone was estimating like every Sora video could cost the company $3. And it takes multiple tries to vibe edit your way into a video that you like. So if you had to, use tokens to do 5 videos on Sora and then you got one you wanted to share, that could cost the company like 10 whole dollars. I don't know what the numbers really look like. All I know is that video AI generation is an order of magnitude more compute intensive than photo generation or text generation. And when I fire up like text AI on one of my laptops, that's pretty slow. I mean, it's cool when you can see, and like, especially now, some of the updates for Windows on ARM are now better leveraging these. Like, you can run an AI model locally, free of any kind of internet connection. It's actually pretty impressive what you can do with local compute power, but it's definitely slower than sending up a search query or a text query to a server. I type a couple words and then a massive server works on that information and sends me back a result. That is still kind of faster on good data, right? But you start adding photos, you can see gears are turning, wheels are turning, stuff is churning. Then you go to video. That is an order of magnitude more compute power. So it has to be costing them stupid amounts of money to make Sora in any way a popular service or a popular product that no one's paying for, not at any kind of scale. The second you's like, well, what if you want to pay for your AI slop? A bunch of people will say, yeah, cool. But then most folks are just going to bugger off. It does not make any sense at all. Where was I? Oh, we've got 2 more stories. Let me see if I can wrap these up. Okay, so the only reason why I put this one in the link is because I found a really good Reuters write up on it. We mentioned this either last week or the week before, but the company iRobot has been in financial distress. We were predicting that by the end of the year they could be filing for bankruptcy. That seems to have played out. So literally this morning, Roomba maker iRobot files for bankruptcy, pursues manufacturer buyout. So the company that they were using, Ecovax Robotics, just bought the company. Um, the reason why I want you to read the articles, there's a lot of write up about how we got to this point. They have incredible market share, but especially their issues were starting just before just at the end of the pandemic. They were facing some liquidity issues, and so they borrowed money against part of the company to pay back other debts, and then there was just a massive fall off in revenue, and then the tariffs just punched them in the face again. So at one point, what was like $1 billion corporation, $3 billion corporation. Right now, their valuation is somewhere around $140 million. And no, not Ecovax. Who bought them? Sorry, I had this in the article and now I can't find it. Oh, I don't know how to pronounce this. Picea, Picea. So they're going private. They just got bought by one of the primary manufacturing companies that makes their products. So hopefully, what we didn't know a couple weeks ago, if iRobot filed for bankruptcy, there was one potential outcome. Let's say they didn't get an actual buyer and the company got split up for parts and IP. That would have killed all of their products, all of the apps, all of the server side, all of the maintenance, would have disrupted the supply channels that like make repair parts. It would have been a massive disruption to one of the biggest players in this kind of home automation space. So, thankfully, in this short term, that's the big win to take away from this. They're getting bought out. They filed for bankruptcy. They're going to become a private company again, but they're owned now by the company that was doing their manufacturing. I think that's the best possible outcome for a very terrible situation. So, if you have family or friends that are using iRobot products, hopefully those Roombas aren't going to immediately just switch off if servers get unplugged. That doesn't look like that's what's going to happen. So that's a good a good outcome from that situation. I just wanted to follow that up because to me it's just fascinating. You can have a product that is just dominating in a space. I want to say it was something like 40% of the robot vacuum market was occupied by one company that just a couple of years ago was worth $4 billion, and today they are in the red, hundreds of millions of dollars, and their products are still selling. I don't understand how we keep letting businesses ride this roller coaster and where a couple bad quarters, well, now your company's worthless. And we just keep playing this pretend game with money, even though I can look around and there are millions and millions of people that own these products and buy these products, but I guess they're just not making as much money as they could. So now the company's a failure. I just don't why we keep letting this be the story on how business should be conducted. I don't get it. Oh, shut them down. My friend uses a PC with two used Xeon 12 core CPUs that were pretty cheap and uses it as his main text AI machine. I'm fascinated. Like, not to like pick or pry, but if you send me a message, like let me know what he's using. Like as the actual like AI, the model, is he training his own model, whatever. I just think it's I wish more people would play with just some of these like little plug-in apps, AI Anywhere, stuff like that. And you can download someone else's model, excuse me, and then keep that air gapped and run it yourself and just see what that system is capable of. It is so fascinating to me, and it takes all the magic. Like these people that are building parasocial relationships with their AIs, like, oh, Chat GPT, and it's this, and my Chat GPT is aware. And like, no, none of this is. But it's incredible to me when you see like some of these larger models. They're still technically small language models, but they might have billions of parameters. And like you can get into some really interesting like dialogue knowing that it's a word guessing machine, and then I can point it to like all of the articles I've ever written. For me, that is incredible to see. Like, I can't ask it a question and get an accurate answer. I love showing off. Like, I think I was using one of the Meta Llama models, and I would ask it a question like, "Oh, what did I say about the LG V60?" And it starts rattling off like, "Oh, it has this resolution screen." You're like, "No, that was from the LG V50." "Oh, you're right. It had this kind of screen." "No, that was from the LG G8." "Oh, but it could do this." "No, that was actually the LG V20." You're getting all of this wrong. But then if I ask it something specific, like, when did I write this? It can find that article, and then I can actually find the video or like the content that I made because I have these stupid huge backlogs of like old project files and stuff. So that has just been really interesting to me. But anyway, I really wish more people would try because it is a really fun project and it doesn't take as much compute power as you would think it would just to play around with kind of what does a language model do? And when you see it in operation and it's so deliberate and the words are coming out like individually, it's really interesting to see how it plays that out. Future, it's here. Sorry, I take that back. It's now with Nano Banana, 13 cents per video. The video has to be that times 10 or 20. It's very inefficient. So Nano Banana. What a funny, isn't it so quirky? It's so quirky. It's Nano Banana. It's Nano Banana AI, guys. But Sora is maybe operating at 20 times that cost. So again, I was saying, someone said in another video that I was watching, because I love to hate watch videos hating on AI, they could be like $5 a video at Sora. But to me, it seems reasonable. OpenAI is not delivering the most efficient solutions to this type of generative AI. Something like that, you could say it's $2, $3 a video, and it takes multiple videos to get to something you want to publish. It's pretty crazy. Sure is a shame that we're not using this infrastructure for actual, like, really good things. We're using it for just content garbage, but you got to replace human workers somehow. Destroy the economy, but I'm rich. Oh no, money's worthless. What am I going to do? Short-term gain, but oh, I wrecked everything. Oh, cool. Shut them saying I'll ask them, but it's not only AI machine. No. I understand that, but just what like models he's using. I'm always just curious. Shoot me a message. We can chat after the video. And then I just want to wrap this up on this ridiculously long news block that I thought was going to take like 40 minutes max. But I went almost 40 minutes on just the first story. It is written up by Yetnesh Dubey over at Notebook Check. I'm pretty sure I've mispronounced their last name, and I apologize. Samsung to halt SATA SSD production. Leaker warns of up to 18 months of solid state drive price pressure, worse than Micron ending consumer RAM. So, this article, Notebook Check is a machine. Notebook Check just churns very surface level descriptions of a lot of articles, but every now and then they put together a really nicely cited and sourced editorial that looks at the business practices of that market. This is one of those articles. I'm really happy to highlight this. Yetnesh has done a really good job here, because I was ready to write this off as yet another example of Samsung colluding and price fixing components. Samsung could potentially be doing that with RAM. We'll find out in 5 years when there's an investigation into Samsung's business practices as to why RAM prices have skyrocketed, even though the Micron deal ending Crucial's sales isn't necessarily impacting consumer supply, but suddenly everything's more expensive because Micron still supplies memory chips to other manufacturers. So long as those components were in the pipeline and deals had already been cut for those costs, we really shouldn't be seeing a speculative market on RAM like we do with oil, right? Oil goes through a refinery and then goes out to the pumps, and somehow the oil that is turned into gasoline that's already been paid for can suddenly spike in price based on what's happening with the crude oil market, which takes time for it to be turned into gasoline. Again, that's a scam. That's a lie. That's speculation on the value of a commodity. I kind of feel RAM is becoming the same thing, and maybe Samsung deserves some ire for not competitively approaching this market and saying, well, we make the best memory chips and we're going to supply consumers with this. No, that's not what they're doing. Taking that, putting it aside. This is something a little different when we're talking about SATA SSDs. It really does seem like Samsung might be walking away from the SATA SSD market. Now, this is still a leak. This is speculation. This isn't something to act on immediately. But if you're building little project systems, if you were using, so I use SATA SSDs with my Ninja, with my Atomos. So I have like the actual Atom X SSDs and these nice little reinforced and ruggedized shells, plugs into my monitor, and then that connects to my camera and I can shoot longer form video off of these drives. there are a lot of applications for SATA SSDs. In fact, I even have a NAS. This is the Link Station N2. I'm going to be making a video on this. It's a 6-bay NAS, but 4 of them are M.2 bays and 2 are SATA SSD bays. So you can make this like six component network attached storage box, but all off of solid state drives and using different kinds of solid state drives. There's a lot of application for SATA SSDs, but they aren't the current hottest component for system builders, for console manufacturers. More and more, we're starting to see the various permutations of M.2 drives, which are much, much smaller. I don't think I have an M.2 out. You guys are gonna like make fun of me that I might just have. No, I actually did use it in another project build. I think it's actually in a 4-bay outside next to my router. I'm not even using it right now. I just had 4 256 gig M.2s and I put them into an array. So if Samsung walks away from this, it's not like Micron. Micron pulling Crucial, and now they're not making consumer-facing RAM. They're still selling memory chips to other manufacturers. So like ADATA RAM, right? If Samsung pulls out of the SATA SSD market, they're not selling those components to other manufacturers. It's not like there's going to be a Transcend SATA SSD. Another manufacturer is going to have to fulfill that supply, which means, as we all know, in the short term, if you wanted to pick up some of these types of drives, one of my favorite uses of that. Do I still have it out? I just took it apart. So I think I've got, it's not a very high quality drive. No, I don't think I've got it out here. Dang it. I'm really doing a bad job of giving you guys, oh, no, wait, I could use this one instead. This is not a high quality drive, but this is one of the Team Group quad level Vulcan Z. It's a 4 terabyte drive that I like to use in my mini PC builds. It was very inexpensive, and I do not have a high estimation of its longevity or performance, but it was a big bucket of cheap storage that I could quickly pull out of those slightly taller Nook form factor mini PCs, right? So these are the types of things that I think are really fun to add to little project systems, to maybe you want to build some sort of storage solution, a NAS, or maybe even a device attached storage solution. But increasingly, a lot of the newer products are going to feature M.2. So I think Samsung is being a little aggressive. I think if they do make this move, I think they're pulling support for a viable solution a little too early. But if you're looking at the types of components that you want to build, maybe if you're building some kind of solution and you need a SATA drive, I think now would be a really good time just to shop around. Start getting a feel for the market, look at what prices are looking like. Maybe you pull the trigger a little sooner than you might have, but this seems plausible. It seems plausible that Samsung could be looking at their memory chip manufacturing, how much money is going into NAND, how much money is going into solid state production, and saying, hey, we're going to make more money on RAM and M.2. Let's just end as a SATA SSD and we can walk out of that market clean. As soon as that happens, we're going to see those components spike in price. So it's a buyer beware. Keep an eye out. Let's see if Samsung does this. If they do, we'll definitely talk about it on a future episode of the podcast. But I'm seriously considering maybe grabbing another one of these like reinforced or ruggedized SATA drives, just so I've got kind of like a continuity. I've got a backup for the stuff that I use. That little Ninja is such a great little video content creating product, and I want to make sure I still have the parts and pieces that I can get the most out of that thing for as long as I can. So, that wraps us up for news. An hour 40 into the podcast. Let me take a drink of coffee here. from JGJ, is there a RAM search tool alternative to the Crucial site? I have no idea. I genuinely don't know. I'm that dork. I just kind of try to do everything manually and look at part numbers and SKUs, and sometimes I'll reach out to the RAM manufacturers in an email. I'm really not good at tracking all that stuff down. You'll pardon, when I was doing the heaviest work that I was in system building recently, I was at Newegg. So I had a whole bunch of Newegg ninjas that were really good at just answering my questions without me having to do all the legwork. So I'm actually not great at finding that kind of stuff. Um, from Loco Rudy, Juan said, buy SATA, buy it now. Go, go, go. Well, I didn't say that, but I just said, like, check it out. I don't even really know. What did this team group go for? I think I got it for 180, and that was a year. No, it was about 2 years ago that I got this. And what I like is it's got a whole bunch of stuff on it, and I rip it out, and then I put it in a new mini PC, and then it just populates the stuff that I use to kind of test as I go along. Let's just look up what a SATA drive costs now, because I bet you it's more expensive than when I got this, and this is a low quality SSD. Computer components and storage. Oh my God, I don't want to deal with doorbusters for Christmas. I'm on Newegg's site right now just because, I used to work there. Internal SSDs. My site is going real slow. And then what form factor? Come on, show me 2.5. Oh, and literally one of the first ones that pops up is the Team Group T-Force Vulcan. Um, oh, they don't even have the 4 TB anymore. Is this a 4? I'm pretty sure it was a 4 TB. Yeah. Yeah, they don't even list the 4 TB anymore. So the 2 TB is $165. Oh my. Yeah, I want to say I spent 180 or 190 on the 4 TB on a crazy sale, and now it doesn't look like they sell. It's the 2.5, 2 TB SATA 3. Yeah, this is my drive. Let me screen share this. So don't buy this one. Yeah, a Samsung Evo 2 TB SATA 3. They've listed for 224. I'm not seeing a lot of other just SATA in their similar products though. I'm not going to spend too much time searching on stuff like this. I've really struggled with solid state drives for NAS because there's a ton of performance, um, but you can't buy a ton of storage. So, like, I'm on 20 TB drives for my box right now, and those were pricey, but your dollar per gig is definitely better than buying solid state. So if I were to go solid state, for me, that would be an intermediary storage solution to do things like work on projects, right? I could have a little box here on my desk with some M.2 drives in it and have like 4 TB in some kind of an array, and I could work off of projects. I'd get really fast speeds, right? But I'm getting fast enough speeds on my box of spinning disk hard drives that I can still edit 4K video. So the speeds that I would get from solid state, that would help if I were using a network solution to work on like 8K video, but I'm not doing a lot of that. Or if I were working on like raw project files from massive cinema grade cameras, I get using a storage array with solid state for that. But that is such a high tier. I don't think we're ready yet to make that transition for more prosumer needs. Like my needs, I would say, are definitely now prosumer needs. Like I'm not taxing my NAS with spinning disk drives overly. I don't need the throughput, the speed that solid state would bring at the prices you would have to pay to do a big solid state. Vasicos 8, that was a George Takai. Oh my. Takei. Yeah, George Takei, not Takai. Yes, rhymes with okay, not Takai. George Takei. I apologize. Oh my. From Shut Them, this shortage reminds me of the two GPU shortages that ended in like 6 to 12 months. So just chill and don't buy anything, I guess. I think a lot of folks, again, we're hobbyists and we're passionate, and tech is a lifestyle, and we enjoy this. And it's just so sad that a part of our hobby is tied to these kinds of political fluctuations in a global economy and in this market. I mean, like my grandfather was just a master. Like he loved buying old cars and fixing them up. I have a couple uncles too that like I just have garages out in like New Mexico, and they're just always working on a new car. Like, hey, I'm just working on a Barracuda. I just fixed up a 66 Mustang. I just took this fastback. First time I ever got to hear an engine with gears instead of belts. It was wild. You have a clockwork engine. That is so rad. And you could just build and machine and get involved in the parts and the pieces. And yeah, I mean, there's definitely fluctuation and things get more expensive over time. But I think we're reaching this precipice in tech where those of us who liked to put our hands into the guts of a high performance machine, I'm complaining about my Threadripper, right? Like I'm so, oh, woe is me. But there hasn't been that joy. Like I'm overdue replacing this thing in the time frame of like I used to build up a new system every couple of years. And now I've gone even longer on this one, and I still keep running into this. Yeah, but maybe I can just keep putting it off. Or maybe I don't need to. Or when I look at what would I need to do to properly displace the performance, like really get myself an upgrade, hasn't been an issue over the last couple years. Like, yeah, the parts are more powerful, definitely better single core performance. Ripping out a GPU, something like that, I could definitely find something a bit beefier, but I'd be getting these like 10% performance improvements, which really comes down to, oh, when I render this video, it'll render in 17 minutes instead of 18 minutes. Like, that's not really that exciting for me to spend thousands of dollars to replace the system that I've got. So maybe I can just sit this out for a while. And it's really disappointing. That's why I got so lit up about Windows on ARM. It really is because a major aspect of my PC use has shifted from just what is the most powerful thing that I can build at any energy cost to I'm really excited by the future of performance per watt. So I know I'm getting a less powerful thing, but I'm also getting a significantly more power efficient thing, and that's really exciting. Same reason why I got lit up about the Steam Deck. Same reason why I'm getting really excited for the Steam Frame. Same reason why I love playing with these little mini PCs. And I don't think people have fully explored all of the crazy stuff that you can do with them. My mom's gaming PC is a little mini PC now, right? So I don't know. It's real disappointing. I'm gonna have to go back and look up. Maybe I did spend more than 200, but I really doubt. I think I got this 4 terabyte on a stupid sale, and now even just a low quality solid state drive is coming in this expensive. I $265 for a team group, I don't think is the way to go. I don't know. We'll have to see. So, I want to wrap up this week's show. Just getting into the last couple minutes, and I know we'll run a little bit longer. I can't say much about it because we're playing that embargo game, right? So that video that Nick shared in the private Patreon chat, I am absolutely emblematic of a part of that business practice, and I'm calling myself out. I am working with a brand. There will be a publish date for embargoed videos and reviews. I like this brand. I think they are a strong alternative to the current slate of Apple, Google, and Samsung products. And I can't tell you much at all about what's going on with it, but I have been spending a little time with the OnePlus 15R. Um, I actually haven't used the cameras much. So you might have noticed like a couple days ago, people started sharing photos and videos from the OnePlus 15R. I don't have much to say about that because I genuinely also haven't been using my OnePlus 15 that much. It really seems like going into 2026, my SIM card is just going to kind of live in the Vivo X300 Pro, even though I know I'm not getting complete band support for T-Mobile 5G. I'm kind of fine sacrificing like the UC performance just to have um, some of the best cameras that you can have on a phone. I think I'll probably be switching between Vivo and Xiaomi for my personal SIM card a lot over 2026. But the 15R has already proven to be a very interesting device. I've already started benchmarking. I can't tell you about some of the results from my performance tests just yet, but we're going to get our first look at the Snapdragon 8 Gen 5, which is different from the 8 Elite Gen 5, which is in the OnePlus 15. And I've been very surprised by some of the results. So tease, 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 can't tell you, embargo, 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 but this is becoming a very, it's similar to me in the way that I talked about the OnePlus 15. It's not the same kind of product that the OnePlus 13R. Do I still have that? Yeah. So this is my OnePlus 13R. This was a different kind of device than what the 15R represents. And I think consumers have a choice in products that they might want to spend money on. And that this year, the pros and cons are going to be a little different. That means a bunch of tech YouTubers are going to say, oh, but OnePlus, and they made a compromise, and that's not okay, and this is going to be a problem, and then no one should buy anything, and here's Apple. But I do want to point out, in terms of their color, I can't tell if I like the OnePlus variation on this better or worse, but I did go out of my way to not get a Pixel 10 in white or whatever their other colors were. I got their weird kind of lime color, and this doesn't look right on camera. So I'm gonna have to futz with my white balance. But the OnePlus is just a slightly richer. Can I maybe back this off? I kind of at an angle. Let's try. No, right about there. I'm real bad at color. I'm terrible at white balance. I really am. It's just kind of a richer version of the Pixels lime green color. And I don't know if I like it better or worse. I don't know that green is really, I've always been blue. If you give me a really rich jewel tone, reflective, laser etch, something blue. I love blues and then also gradients. So like the Thunder Purple OnePlus 6T is still one of my all-time favorite looking phones. That gradient from a rich purple into black. Oh, that looks so cool. Green kind of doesn't do it to me. Doesn't do it for me. So I'm curious. I'm so torn since I'm not the biggest metallic mint green fan. Do I like that one green is richer, or do I like that one green is a little less vibrant? I don't know. I don't know what I like. So last week I was able to just kind of show it off on video, just the back. We've got the OnePlus Pad over here also. The new OnePlus Pad Go 2. Nice sort of more mainstream and economical tablet for people to pick up. And now we're gonna get to play with the flagship killer mid-ranger, whatever we're going to call the OnePlus 15R. So it should be a fun part of this conversation. I've already got some snarky retorts because exactly what I felt people would criticize the OnePlus 15 for totally played out the way that I predicted. We're not going to review what the phone is. We're going to complain that there are parts of the phone that are different from the OnePlus 13, and that's somehow a deal breaker, even though everything OnePlus is doing on the 15 is still better than what Samsung is doing on the S25 Plus. And it looks like the S26 series is going to be just as boring. So Again, you can always point out the shills. Oh, well, you should get a Samsung Ultra. That's the bestest phone. Yeah, but what if your needs are S26 Plus? Well, then you just gotta buy a Samsung because it's better. But everything on the OnePlus is better than the S26 Plus. Oh, but the OnePlus, that's got a compromise on the camera. Yeah, but it's still better than the S26 Plus. Oh, but it's a Samsung. I just like making that jowly sound like I'm trying to swallow my tongue while I lie to your face. From John Gao, what version of the X300 Pro do you have? It looks like the Hong Kong version of the X300 Pro has pretty good band support for the T-Mobile. I don't know. I don't know if it'll say on my box. Let's see. I know the X300 does not have good support, but where did this... So the service center is Kuala Lumpur, but I don't know where this was intended to be sold. So I genuinely don't know. Maybe it'll say on the other, like the IMEI label that I always rip off. Nope. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look that up. John, that is a very good point. I'm terrible at like looking up band support for different carriers and networks. I don't think I have the Hong Kong version. I think my global version might have been like, designed for India or Malaysia or something like that. Um, from Miles, I love it. What is the best device for your average consumer? Because I'll stay away from it. Well, obviously, every average person out there should want a Samsung trifold because I held one in a market in Asia and for a minute, and it's bendy. So average people will want to bend a $3,000 tablet. So you should buy everyone Samsung trifolds. Oh, Team Fry. I thought it was going to be the same embargo device that I got. So I know what you're talking about. I don't do much with their PR and they don't respond to emails from me, but there will be some additional coverage on other embargo devices. It is insane to me. Just there is no time off. There are phone and gadget launches all year. It used to be like you'd want to time some kind of release near MWC. But why, when you can launch a phone in December, is nuts to me. Just absolutely crazy. So, from Future, it's here. Oh my God, Juan is doing aesthetic fashion videos. Let's go. I mean, I've done a few. I'm just real bad at them. I don't know how to wait. I literally just spent all that time talking which version of mint metallic green makes more sense, the more vibrant or the less vibrant. I can't do aesthetic. I'm not an aesthetic guy. I'm so bad at this. Oh, from Miles, LG and Nokia should finally jump back in. I don't think Nokia is ever going to come back in any serious form. The company just licenses the name to whoever is going to buy the label. They're not going to make their own phone ever again. And LG like was so definite in their eclipsing their sunsetting, I should say, of their phone division. They would have to retool from scratch, and there have been massive problems with LG consumer divisions lately. Like they just had another scandal about like I want to say like always listening, AI built into their smart TVs, like for a brand that absolutely was like my ride or die consumer electronics. Like I haven't picked up an LG gram in years. I'm not impressed by what I've seen from the manufacturer. LG tablets are basically gone. The Tone headphones are a shadow of their former self. It's just like so much of this looks like the cost cutting efforts of a South Korean company it's like they're the proto Samsung. Whatever LG happens to LG, we kind of see Samsung fall into the same trap. The philosophies at those two corporations, they seem to be making the worst possible long-term decisions for any type of meager short-term gain that they can get. And I can't see anyone like last time I heard someone say like, "Oh, I got a new TV, I got an LG." Even like TCLs in our friends group. Yeah, I was at a Costco and I got this really cheap TV and it's really nice. And you're like, yeah, I'm sure an LG might have a higher quality panel, but are you going to spend any kind of markup? And then you read a story like, oh, you can't disable any of their telemetry on you. And no one wants that anymore. It's just really, really disappointing. Even the people that I used to talk with, I was pretty close for a while. One of he was the global head of PR, and I got into some great conversations with him. Just really, really fun guy. And he left the company during the pandemic. Like so many of those folks that I used to really enjoy interacting with on the PR side. Again, these relationships get complicated and they get kind of messy and sometimes they're inappropriate. Like I'm trying to hold some kind of editorial consistency, but also like I just really like that dude. He's hilarious. Um it's tough. But so many of those people left the company. And whatever messaging or marketing LG Korea was trying to establish always ran counter to what would be the best possible solution for like LG North America. So just again, it just makes me really sad because there's a potential future out there where LG actually did listen to the experiences from their reps on the ground and course corrected and made better marketing decisions and LG phones would have been the number 3. You know, that like that actually could have been one potential outcome, but it didn't. Now they're all gone. From Huff and Puff 86, are you buying the new Jala phone? Yeah, I've never actually looked up how to pronounce that. I'm currently trying to badger their reps into maybe trying to do some kind of feature overview, hands-on something. But at some point, I might just need to pull the trigger and buy one. The next big purchase I really want to put, the gadget budget towards is a Steam frame. So I'm holding on to this pocket of money that I'm not spending on devices right now, just until we know how much it's going to cost. And I have a lot tucked away, more than what I think the frame is going to cost, just in case something happens and prices get a little crazy. I think Valve might have waited too long to announce Steam Frame and then deal with the repercussions of a memory and marketplace that is getting wildly out of control. I know they were worried about tariffs and stockpiled a bunch of parts and pieces, but now we're also getting to another catastrophe in the global tech market. So at some point I might crack just because I need to talk about something else other than Google and Apple. And I really want to live it. I don't want to just like, oh, I went to a trade show and I got to hold this phone for a minute and here is a video on it. Is no appeal to me at all. I really want to see like, I think I'm one of those people that could easily get rid of platform services like Microsoft and Google and go totally solo on, other little applets and web browsers. As long as I can fire up Firefox and use, ad block, I'm pretty good. I'd be okay on a lot of other compute devices. So we'll see. And John Gow, are you interested in looking at the Nubia Z80 Ultra? The camera hardware looks really interesting. I am always interested in trying to go hands-on with a Nubia. I haven't lived with a ZTE since the Axon. So they retired Axon, and then that really chilled some of what I like about that brand. Um, the Axon label for me has always represented something important. I just love when you see a company really try to make something impressive. And similarly, like I kind of dig what Red Magic does. I don't try to reach out to them anymore. That's another one of those that gets messy. Like, for some reason, ZTEPR, when it comes to Red Magic, will reach out to some content creators and just seed them a device. Whenever they reach out to me, it's, well, we want you to make this video and say it like this, and here's the brand name of our cooling solution, and then say how it's so much better than a Nintendo Switch. And a lot of the stuff I would have agreed with, but the fact that they're making it a brief, I get to use the phone for a week. I would be required to say a whole bunch of nice things about the brand, and then I'd have to send the phone back to them, is not something I'm interested in doing. So I kind of chilled on Red Magic, and they're not under the same umbrella as Nubia, but I look at what they're working on, and there are really good ideas. And I like that they're trying to do things like change up the focal length on the main camera sensor. Like, there's some cool stuff in there. But then I run into like their software support policies. Then I run into the same gremlins that I've had with the brand for 4 or 5 years now. Like, you can do really cool things with it, but it feels like you're fighting the phone half the time to get to the thing you want to do. And so I just haven't made a big effort. I really should get over myself and just try to reach out, or maybe just reach out to someone who I know is going to get the device seeded to them and just do a later follow up. Like, I had the opportunity with Twinfolk Tech. He loaned me his Nothing phone. I really don't have much of an interest to building up a relationship with Nothing, because all Nothing sees is, here's a dude, a solo content creator, makes his own YouTube videos. He's got about 100, he has less than 200,000 subscribers. He must be an influencer who only wants to feed his audience affiliate links, because that's the only reason to exist on YouTube. That's kind of the vibe that I get from a lot of manufacturers now. And I'm still going to hold on to, if I handle this device, it's because I want to consistently talk about products with the same kind of editorial design. I don't want to just make a commercial for your Nothing, make a commercial for your ZTE, or make a commercial for your Red Magic. So I've had to walk away from quite a few of those companies, because the way they hand out devices comes with massive strings attached to that relationship, but not for everybody. And that's the thing that kills me, is someone with like a smaller channel than mine will get a device just seeded to them, and it's like there's no oversight. There's no quid pro quo. They just use the device, they talk about it, and everyone's cool and groovy. And then the second I reach out to them, it's like, well, but you must, and here's our affiliate program, and you can do this and sell, sell, sell. And you're like, whoa, I'm a reviewer. I'm not gonna do that. Oh, well, then we're ghosting you. You're like, well, dang it. So anyway, short story, incredibly long. Yeah, it looks like a cool phone. Sorry, John. Oh, that was tough. Um, Again, I'm willing to play ball with a OnePlus embargo, because let's say I hate the OnePlus 15R. I don't think that's going to destroy my relationship with OnePlus. I can be pretty upfront about what I love on the OnePlus 15 and still have some concerns why I think a OnePlus 13 still might be a better buy for some consumers out there. And I've been internally consistent on that for years. I've been showing you since the OnePlus 8 Pro, you've been missing out if you say you care about cameras, especially unlike the OnePlus 9 Pro. You've been missing out if you say you care about cameras. I feel like I've built up the credibility in that conversation where I can still play ball with an embargo and say, hey, well, here's the things I like, here's the things I don't. And I think I'm being fair because I'm being consistent. When I go into a new PR relationship, and the first thing they hit me with is, we want to have a long-term relationship with you. So here's our product brief. And when we send it to you, we need to see a video after 5 days. And then we'll give you notes on the video, and then you can make the adjustments, and then you'll publish it exactly this day and this time. And you'll do all that work for free. And you can then send us the phone back after you're done with the review. That's not really an earnest conversation on a product. And the thing that sucks is that must work really well, and they must have a lot of people playing ball with that setup. So I don't want to be that guy. I'm happy to not talk about your phone. All right, we should wrap this up. I'm just spilling all the tea right now. Well, let me take one last drink of coffee here, and then we'll get out of this. So there are embargoes going up. I also have some other stuff that I'm wrapping up. I have a mini PC on my desk that I have really been struggling to talk about. And case in point, I've got some major concerns with it. So this is going to be one of the harshest videos I think I've put out in a while. And I still aren't saying, I'm still not saying it's a total and complete deal breaker. Excuse me. But this is maybe the most critical I think I've ever been on any kind of mini PC or product like that. So stay tuned. I know we're running up into the holidays, but I'm still covering product and I kind of want to get a few things out. And I think I might need to turn those into text pieces. I got some great feedback from folks and I'd still love to hear any more ideas that people have, but I want to do a best games of 2025, best mobile games of 2025. So if there were titles that you felt really, or especially were overlooked for mobile devices, definitely shoot me some comments. It was on the Patreon that I got some great replies. So there's going to be some fun stuff coming out there. I don't think I'm going to try and do anything too cheeky with this was the best phone because right now we're already into 20, the phones that will sell in 2026 are already coming out in 2025. So would I say that the OnePlus 13 was a 2025 phone, or is the best phone from OnePlus the OnePlus 15 in 2025? So I don't think I'm going to do a whole bunch of stuff like that. I think the market has gotten too messy, too complicated, too many overlapping windows in distribution, and I'm going to let some of that stuff go. But I do have like some more product videos, some more editorials, and I want to do that best of gaming with an honorable mention, of course, to GameSir's Game Hub for bringing PC gaming to Android in a really big way this year. So stay tuned. Lots of stuff coming out this week. Really busy week, and I think we're gonna have some fun stuff, some exciting stuff to talk about. I'm like full bore, like trying to get videos shot and produced, and it's really kicking my butt. So hopefully we'll have some fun as I just get a video out and then run right into the next project. I hope everybody out there is having a lovely holiday season. I hope you're getting to spend some time with people you care about and eating some really great food. I hope that there's like some fun out there, like a company potluck or get together with some friends or a dinner with family. Just make the most of those opportunities and really get out there and just kind of unplug from just how toxic and horrific all of this craziness has been, because the people like right in front of your face, like that's going to remind you, it's going to help, like this matters. And I don't know, it's the kind of stuff that I need to kind of fill the soul so that I can go back into some of these battles that I know are going to be really exhausting moving forward. So I'm going to catch you back next week. I want everybody out there to be awesome with their technology, to do awesome with their technology, and to take care of yourselves. Take care of that mental health so you can keep being the amazing tech neighbor I know you can be. Catch you back here next week for another episode of the Monday Morning Tech Chat Show on the SGGQA podcast channel. Be safe. Take care. I'll catch you back, and I love you all.